something like that. That looks perfect.
Something I've started doing is recording things and live streaming at the same time to make the audience feel more included, but what that results in when you're doing a 3D print post-process is absolute chaos, but it was fun.
That is like a brick. Just need to try and get underneath that. This is the hardest.
Needless to say, I might have had the exposure times on those base layers a little too high. But with a combined printing time of 20 hours later and a whole lot of Gorilla Glue, I had my model assembled. Because I am a genius, I didn't think about curing all these separate parts before putting it together, which means now I can't put it in my machine to cure it, so I have to manually do it by hand with my partner's UV nail curing machine, which was fun. So now what we're going to do is use a special power which I tend to use whenever I'm printing anything that's see-through: tape. Because what tape does is very simple. It just covers the bit that you don't want to be primed up, so that bit will remain see-through, and then we can just add a kind of like a tone layer on top of it, and it will still have that kind of crystally weird look. This demon I made is one of my favourite models, and because its wings are see-through, it really does add a different quality to it which you couldn't do unless it was printed. And although it looks a mess, that will do the trick. In total, it took me about 3 hours to finish painting up Bertha, and I only used 7 paints. This was a pretty straightforward paint, with the most technical bits just being the edge highlights I did with that nice shiny metallic blue colour. All issue I've had, this thing is so big I can't really record it anywhere, so the best thing I can do is put it on my rotating table to get these shots, and we are using the very generous name I cannot find at the moment, Zombies Live Bacon. We're using him in the background. I did ask for his permission before you say anything, and it is there. I would have just used my own Twitch channel, however, if you log into it on the app on my TV, you still can't watch your own content, so instead we're using Zombies Live Bacon, and we're also using Grizz. At least in that one I make an appearance. Now that Bertha is finished, let's take a good look at her. And if you're wondering where the name Bertha came from, that wasn't decided by me, that was decided by the livestream viewers, who eventually settled on Bertha. I think the other contender was, it was something else with a B, it was something big. It was all very girthy sounding names, Bertha being the winner. This has turned out very nicely. The edge highlights really do finish it off and make it look a little bit special, make it a little more glowy. I know this isn't what it looks like in the game, but the way it looks in the game is boring, which is why I painted it like this. Nice purple, which is fitting, and colourful, because these things make nice little ornaments in your house. Or I might try and fill this as a tyrannid, as I've kind of painted it as such. It looks pretty tyrannidy. Tyrannidy. That is definitely a word. This is really easy to paint, and it's mostly just me slathering on contrast paints on this thing, and the see-through bits still look really cool, just to show you how that turned out. These ones here, I'm a big fan of that. That looks great. Once again, there is a massive benefit to just using see-through resin for everything, because worst comes to worst, you cover up with the white primer, and now it's no longer see-through. So it just gives you the options. This model is pretty damn immense, but luckily it is split up into several bits. As you can imagine, it might be somewhat impossible to print it otherwise. Although I will say that there is a unsplit up version of it, so if you did want to print loads of little ones, you could do that quite easily. Just don't make the mistake that I made and not take note of where all the legs go before printing, because I'd spent ages sat down just trying to figure out where the legs were supposed to go. This is a pretty accessible model. I think unless you have a really small printer, you're going to have problems, but even then you can just scale this down to have a slightly smaller version. But part of the fun for me was making it be so big. This is the original size, and this is massive. If we were to do a scale comparison, I'm not going to use a Space Marine because they're too big anyway. Let's get a human. So scale-wise, I would say that's pretty damn bang on. If you're someone who's into Helldivers 2, I can highly recommend this model. This is 10 out of 10. Would eat democracy again. If you'd like to see something that I've actually designed myself and not been lazy, you can find this video here. And yes, I was using my feet at the start of this video. Most of you wouldn't have noticed, and even more of you would not have gotten this far to the end.